right, well, it's time to do some advanced quarter note rock beats. So hopefully already you're familiar with quarter note beats that last one measure. So that'd be something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And hopefully it already makes sense how you would write that out. Let me show you real quick. Using quarter notes, we would have the X's up there be all of the hi-hats, and then we would go kick and snare and kick and snare. And again, hopefully all of this is already a review for you. So that thing right there should represent the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You want to make sure that you're counting out loud, that you're playing with the metronome, all of that stuff, just like you always would do. And now we need to talk about some advanced quarter note beats. So one thing we can do to make this a little bit more difficult that you may or may not have experimented with yet is trying to take the hi-hat out of some of the places. So far we've been keeping track of all the beats, 1, 2, 3, 4 with the hi-hat or the ride. So now we're going to try to take that out, and as it turns out, in drums, two of the things that are like really surprising because they sound like the opposite of what they would be is that if you play fewer things, a lot of times it's harder than playing more things. And if you play slower, it's harder than playing faster. So you probably have already run into the slower, faster thing if you use the metronome a lot. Playing with a really slow beat and getting every one of them exactly right on is pretty difficult. And then now we're going to try to take out some beats. So this same exact beat right here, if we just took out a whole bunch of this stuff, let's say we take out this hi-hat right here and this one right here, and we'll take out this snare, and we'll actually change this kick to a snare here. Now, some of this is experimentation you could have already done on the quarter notes lesson, but just taking this as an example. So this is way, way less stuff. All this is now is a kick on 1, and then a 2 on the hi-hat, and then a 3 on the snare, and then a 4 on the hi-hat. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4. That's way harder than the other beat, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, that had all of those notes in there. So trying to take notes out sometimes makes it more difficult. So this would actually be kind of an advanced beat just because there's so little going on in there. So we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, way less going on, but that's actually kind of more difficult. So one of the things you can do to make your beats more advanced is by taking things out and experimenting with not having the hi-hat track actually all of the beats, but especially focusing on the 2 and the 4 for those. And then, of course, using the metronome to speed up the tempo and stuff to make sure you've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or really slowly with the metronome. By the way, slow is really easy without a metronome. Slow is difficult with a metronome. So if you slow something down, you're like, what? He said this was going to be difficult. Then turn on the metronome and you'll find lining up all those beats at a slower tempo is actually a lot more difficult. Now, the other thing we can do, aside from taking beats out to make our beats more advanced, is to do something we call a multi-measure beat. So a measure is just a set of 1, 2, 3, 4, like we've already talked about before. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And generally, a song is going to have 100 or 200, maybe 300 measures in it. So sets of 1, 2, 3, 4. So what we can do is we can have a beat that loops just like our regular beats do, 1, 2, 3, 4, but we can have the loop be like 2 measures or 3 measures or 4 measures. So this can get pretty complicated. So if we take that same beat that we were just playing right here, and we'll just put this down here, 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we'll change it up a little bit to be, let's see here. And this is where you can experiment with all this stuff. We could get a 3 and a 4 right there. So now I've got a 2-measure beat. It's 1 measure right there, 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 over here. But now the beat, instead of just having that loop of 1, 2, 3, 4 and looping around again, now we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So this is a whole new beat now, and it's now lasting 2 measures. Now, you probably have already gone ahead in your head and gone, wait a second, if we can do a 2-measure beat, we could do a 3-measure beat, and a 4-measure beat. I could do a 100-measure beat. Yes, you could. It would be nearly impossible to remember, so you'd have to write out the whole entire thing. And essentially, that's like what sheet music is it's a 100 or 200 measure beat, but there's going to be a lot of looping in the middle of it. So I would recommend that you don't get too carried away and that you stick with 2-measure beats or 3-measure beats or 4-measure beats, but a 4-measure beat is really hard to memorize. So it's up to you, of course. Some of you guys are going to be really ambitious and come up with 10-measure beats, and you'll be submitting those, and we can run through all that stuff. But let me give you a couple more examples of a multi-measure beat. I'm going to stick with 2 measures for myself, so they're easier to remember. And I'm going to stick with the regular, like keeping the dominant hand on 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, just to make it a little bit easier. Again, I would highly recommend you start with that. It's totally up to you. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So something like this would be, again, my dominant hand's going to keep track of all of those beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So, as always, use your metronome. Start out at a really slow speed, then slowly speed it up. Make sure you're doing the counting out loud at least until your ear can hear the beat that you're playing and recreate it by ear. So, in other words, if you're playing 1, 2, 3, like this doesn't sound like a thing yet. That's fine. Everyone's got to start there, but it doesn't really sound like a thing yet. It's not until you get to like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, that your ear can start to hear, oh, this just sounds like boom, chuck, boom, chuck, boom, boom, chuck, boom, chuck, boom. And now I don't have to count anymore because my ear is taking care of that. I'm just trying to recreate the boom, chuck, boom, boom, chuck, boom, chuck, boom, boom, chuck, boom, chuck, boom. So that sound. So you want to use your brain and count out loud up until the point you can play it fast enough that your ear can listen to what you're playing and go, oh yeah, I could recreate that. And then you don't have to do the counting anymore on that. If you got questions about that, feel free to pass those along. Let's do one more multi-measure beat, and let's go ahead and get this thing crazy here. We're going to try to throw in 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we're doing that thing where our right hand isn't playing all of the 1, 2, 3, 4s. So it would go, again, really slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the thing we started out with at the beginning. And then we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can try that beat or you can make up your own. It really doesn't matter. As long as you're setting out something on purpose at the beginning, you're trying to do it, you're going slowly, you're counting out loud, you're using the metronome, then you're going to do fine. So explore, mess up, have fun, send me your submissions, rock on.